Hello there, welcome back to Fit the Lit, where we fit literature to its rightful standard. Today we are going to start with class 12th NCERT series, where I shall start with a poem that I have selected because it is one of my personal favorites, that is A Thing of Beauty, written by John Keats. Without any further ado, let us begin. So as you all know that it is included in your NCERT Flamingo, and the title of the poem is A Thing of Beauty. It is written by John Keats. Today we are going to cover the detailed explanation of the poem and look at the poetic devices along with the context and some of the difficult words that we need to understand. Let us straight away dive into the poem with a brief introduction about the poet. So as given in your NCERT, John Keats, 1795 to 1821, was a British romantic poet. Now, this word romantic has changed its connotations over a period of time, and romantic did not necessarily imply romance with your beloved as such back then. Although trained to be a surgeon, Keats decided to devote himself wholly to poetry. Keats' secret, his power to sway and delight the readers, lies primarily in his gift for perceiving the world and living his moods and aspirations in terms of language. So, NCERT tells you that he had a really good hold over language. He had a really good hold over a poetic device that we now label as imagery. He could employ all his five senses and perceive the world in an altogether different level than a common man. And this gift made him really special. John Keats was a poet who was given with this extraordinary power of perception of the world, wherein he could understand the world and the emotions in altogether different light as compared to all the other people, the other common man, right? The following is an excerpt from his poem Endymion, a Poetic Romance. The poem is based on a Greek legend in which Endymion, a beautiful young shepherd, and the poet who lived in Mount Latmos, had a vision of Cynthia, the moon goddess. The enchanted youth resolved to seek her out and so wandered away through the forest and down under the sea. So, although this is a huge work and one of the most famous works of John Keats, Endymion, a poetic romance, but a small excerpt, and here excerpt means a small part. Extract or excerpt basically means a small part. कि एक छोटा सा पार्ट आपको पढ़ने के लिए दे दिया गया है. So there is this whole book written by him. बहुत लेंदी पोइट्रिक वर्ड्स है, बहुत लेंदी पोइट्रिक बुक है. Endymion, written by John Keats. उसका एक छोटा सा part is given for you to read. Is given for you to read in your syllabus. And छोटा सा part तो yes true, but it is actually the introduction that is given to you, right? It is actually the introduction. The other thing that we got to know about John Keats is that he belongs to a movement, literary movement called Romanticism, right? Now, as I said, that the word romantic has changed its connotation over the period of time. So the meaning of the word has changed over time. So let us try to understand कि पहले romantic का मतलब क्या था? What is this literary movement called Romanticism, right? And this is where I would like to take you to the context, right? So what is the context? What is the context in which John Keats was writing this particular piece of poem? The Romantic movement in literature was a literary movement and an artistic movement that began in late 18th century Europe. As I said, that John Keats was a British romantic poet, right? So he was writing influenced by this movement, and let us understand what is this romantic movement all about. So Europe में start हुई 18th century. It reacted against the strict rules, logic and order. Romantic writers emphasized emotion, imagination, individuality and the beauty of nature. This you need to understand and remember, that all these romantic poets were actually writing on the theme of emotion, writing on the theme of imagination, writing on the theme of individuality, right? And also they were praising the beauty of nature. They constantly used to approach nature as having some power of healing, as having some power which could heal their inner self, right? They believed that intuition and feelings were more important than reason. Reason here basically means rationalism, right? So the earlier literary movement, जो पहले की इससे literary movement थी, that was enlightenment, right? Enlightenment बहुत ज़्यादा strict rules पे believe रखता था, बहुत ज़्यादा reason पे, that is rationality पे believe रखता था, right? But here so all those poets were rationalists in their true sense. The poets that were of the Enlightenment age, they were rationalists in their true sense. वो लोग ऑर्डर पे फोकस रखते थे, वोम की राइम पे, रिदम पे, हर एक चीज को स्ट्रिक्ट कंट्रोल में रखते थे. बट हियर द रोमांटिक पोएट्स, द रोमांटिसिज्म मूवमेंट इन लिटरेचर brought along a sense of freedom, जहाँ पे poets explore करने लगे. And the themes were also different. The themes were not related to society, related to the strict rules of society, but rather related to their inner emotion. तो वो अपने inner emotion को ज़्यादा देखने लगे, right? Individuality को देखने लगे, imagination को देखने लगे, beauty of nature को देखने लगे. Instead of rationality, instead of looking at the strict rules of the society, instead of looking at the decorum, talking about laws, instead of all these things, romantic writers, they were focusing on these four major areas, right? They believed that intuition and feelings were more important than reason. Romantic poets, so there were 6 major romantic poets: Wordsworth, Coleridge, Shelley, Byron, Keats, and there was one another which is not mentioned here, and that is William Blake. So there were in total 6 romantic poets. They celebrated nature, childhood, dreams, freedom, and the inner world of the human mind. The movement encouraged creativity, love of beauty, interest in the supernatural, and a deep connection with nature. So all these things you need to remember that John Keats was writing at a time. John Keats एक ऐसे time पे लिख रहे थे where all these things were followed by the poets. They were focusing on all these themes: supernatural, interest in the supernatural, right? The love for beauty of nature, creativity, connection with nature. All these themes were being explored by his contemporaries and also by him. Moving forward, I have a very interesting activity for all of you, and it is called 5-second beauty challenge. So you have 5 seconds by clock. Just close your eyes, think about a thing which is beautiful for you. A thing which is beautiful for you, that's it, nothing else. So I'm giving you 5 seconds by clock. You just need to think about something that you can categorize as beautiful, right? Alright, now you can mention it in the comment box, the thing that you find beautiful. Now we will try to understand the perspective of John Keats, what he thought is a thing of beauty, because we need to understand his expression, his mind in order to understand the poem, right? So we'll try to move forward and we'll try to understand his perspective, that what he thought is beautiful. These are the first 5 lines of the poem. Let us begin. He straightway says, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quite for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing." This is the definition, or you can say the characteristics or the features of thing of beauty, right? According to John Keats. According to John Keats, these are the features of thing of beauty. So he says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So कोई भी चीज अगर सुंदर होगी, that particular thing will provide the onlooker, the audience, with joy. with happiness, तो वो क्या देगी? Whosoever is looking at it, जो भी उसको देख रहा है, उसको एक happiness देगी, एक joy देगी, and that happiness will be not transient. वो transient kind of happiness नहीं है कि एक बार आपने देखा and then you forget about it. No, the happiness will stay with the onlooker forever. It is an eternal kind of happiness. Eternal happiness, right? It is an internal kind of happiness that this particular thing will give you. So anything that is beautiful according to John Keats, what is the first feature? That it will give you joy, and that too an eternal kind of joy, unending kind of joy. Let us now look at the second feature, that is, he says that its loveliness increases. Now what do you understand by that? That this thing of beauty is having some sort of quality in it, and what is that? That it is lovely when you look at it. बहुत सुंदर दिखते हैं, right? But this loveliness is not an ordinary kind of loveliness कि वो आज थी और कल चली गई. No, the loveliness of this thing of beauty keeps on increasing as days go by. For example, for example, you happen to look at a bud when you are on a morning walk. तो आपने क्या देखा? छोटी सी कली देखी during your morning walk, and after 7 days you again happen to look at the same bud, but now this particular small bud has grown into a beautiful flower. So can you say that this particular bud was actually a thing of beauty, and the loveliness has increased over a period of time? This is what he means, that a thing of beauty is something whose loveliness keeps on increasing. It will not decrease with time, rather increase, right? Then we have the third feature, and that is, he says, it will never pass into nothingness. That is, a thing of beauty will always have something valuable to give to you. That is, it will always hold meaning. It will always hold some meaning for you. Now, meaning here basically means emotion. It will always invoke some kind of emotion when you look at it. You will never pass through a thing of beauty without feeling something. You might feel that it was a sad day, and when you look at that particular flower, you suddenly see that your mood is lifted up. So this is the effect of thing of beauty that you cannot ignore. You cannot just ignore it. When you look at it, some kind of emotion is invoked in your heart. आप कुछ emotion feel करेंगे, right? Let us look at the fourth feature. But will keep a bhava quiet for us. So whenever you look at this beautiful thing, whenever you look at this thing of beauty, you will realize that it will always keep a secure kind of emotion for us. That whenever you look at it, you find that your mind is feeling peaceful, that your mind is feeling calm, right? It provides you with a feeling of peace. It provides you with the feeling of calm when you look at it, and that is why a bhava quiet for us. So it will always keep that secure kind of feeling for us. It will always keep that feeling wherein you are sitting in a shady place in nature. The same kind of feeling that you feel when you are sitting under the shade of a tree on a hot summer day. So imagine कि एक बहुत ही extreme summer का day है, and you are walking and suddenly you realize कि आपको rest चाहिए, and you sit under the shade of a tree having a huge canopy. So you sit under this particular tree and you take rest, and the cool wind starts blowing. So this is the kind of feeling that comes in your heart, the emotion that comes in your heart when you look at this thing of beauty, right? Next and the last one, that it will provide a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. So it will always be a reason that you can sleep peacefully, that you can always have sweet dreams, that your health feels invigorated, that you have quiet and calm breathing. So in order to just put the pointers in place, let us just recall What are the 5 features, 5 characteristics of a thing of beauty according to John Keats? So the first one, that its loveliness increases. It keeps on increasing with time, right? The second one, it is a reason of joy forever. That it gives you eternal joy, eternal kind of joy, unending happiness. Third thing, it will always be invoking some kind of valuable emotion inside our heart, right? Fourth feature, that it will always keep a very calm and peaceful place for us, where we can rest, where we can feel peace, where we can have a quiet amount of breathing, right? That is the fifth feature, that we will always feel quiet, we will always feel peaceful, we will always feel calm, we will always feel invigorated, re-energized when we look at this thing of beauty. So these are the features, and these are the first five lines. And you see that there is a full stop here, and that is we have taken the first 5 lines for the explanation in the first part. Now let us move forward. Let us move forward and try to understand the next few lines. In poetry, as in prose, we need to follow punctuation marks. So I had taken the first 5 lines because after those first 5 lines we had one full stop. Now we will read the next few lines and we will stop here, right? We will stop here. We will stop here, right? So let us read. Therefore, on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. So now, after having listed the characteristics or the features of a thing of beauty, John Keats is trying to see that why do we need this thing of beauty? What is the need to have a thing of beauty in our lives? What does this thing of beauty do for us? So he says, these are the reasons. He is going to enlist the reasons that why. Reasons for having thing of beauty in our lives, that why should you have it in the first place. So he says, this thing of beauty, therefore on every morrow. So morrow here means morning, and wreathing here is a verb. Wreath you must have seen during Christmas time. It is a circular band of flowers that is put upon doors. वो circular ring आपने देखी होगी, बहुत जगह Christians लगाते हैं. And it is, wreathing is actually a verb. So when the poet says that we are wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, so we are kind of making that flowery band of reasons to stay on this earth, to pass through this human existence. It is because of the presence of this thing of beauty. कि ये thing of beauty इतनी positive vibe देती है हमें that we are always trying to find reasons to stay on this earth, to bind us to this earth. Spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth of noble natures. Now, of the inhuman dearth of noble natures is one phrase. So he says कि despite, spite here means despite the despondence. Despondence means a deep sadness, hopelessness and low spirits. So whenever you feel really sad, really low in vibe or really low in spirits, it is this thing of beauty that gives you optimism. Of the inhuman dearth of noble natures. So he says again that there are a lot of things, a lot of negative things that we face on this earth. One is definitely the despondence, that when you feel sad, the days when you feel sad. The second is the inhuman dearth of noble natures. Inhuman dearth of noble natures. Inhuman means extremely cruel or lacking human kindness, right? So he says कि it is very inhuman that we do not have a number of good people on earth. We do not have sufficient good number of people on earth. कि हमारे जो अर्थ है उस पर number of good people कम होते जा रहे हैं. The earth means lack. So he says that due to all these negative things, we need a thing of beauty to make us survive on this earth. Of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching. So unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching would imply that the path that you were treading on, the path that you were walking on, उसमें बिल्कुल ही होप नहीं है, बिल्कुल ही उसमें लाइट नहीं है, and yet you still choose to move on with your life. These are the kinds of negativities, these are the kind of pessimistic things that we face in our day-to-day lives, but yet we choose to survive, we choose to live, and the only reason, according to John Keats, is the presence of thing of beauty. So why do we need this thing of beauty? In order to survive through all these things. Let me just repeat once again. So it is the presence of this thing of beauty that makes us get up every morning and try to collect reasons in order to survive on this earth. It is as if we are creating a circular band of reasons for us to survive on this earth. कि हम लोग reasons ढूंढ रहे हैं through this thing of beauty in order to survive, in order to be alive on this earth. So although we face, हम लोग daily basis पे हम लोग क्या क्या face करते हैं? हम लोग एक negativity भी face करते हैं. That is sadness face करते हैं, because there are a lot of sad events in our lives. किसी की death हो जाती है, किसी से separation हो जाता है, और किसी चीज का anything, right? Any loss is a negative event. So he says कि despite all that sadness, despite all that low spirits, despite all the lack of good natured people, despite all the gloomy days, again, when you are not feeling really high, when you are in low spirit, when you are really sad, when you are depressed, so despite all these things, and despite all the unhealthy and over darkened ways made for our searching, so despite the fact that you are walking on a path where you do not see any light coming from, where you do not see any ray of hope, despite all these events, we choose to stay on this earth, and that is again because of the result of presence of a thing of beauty. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. So dark spirit here implies again low spirits. Pall means covering. So when we are a dark cloud or covering, so when we are covered with all negative thoughts, when we are covered with all dark spirits, it is this shape of beauty that removes all that dark thoughts, all those negative thoughts from our minds. Let us move forward to the last part. Now, having understood the first two parts, you must have realized that this particular poem is not something that is randomly written. It is written in a very tight structure, in the sense that first 5 lines defines a thing of beauty. It gives you the characteristics of thing of beauty. Then next few lines gives you the reason that why do you need this thing of beauty, or why should this thing of beauty exist on this earth. So we have been given with a lot of reasons. Now the next part of the poem will focus on the examples of thing of beauty. So according to John Keats, what are these things of beauty that can keep you optimistic, that can keep you alive on this earth, that can keep you in good spirit on this earth? So what are these things of beauty? And that we are going to see. Alright, so before moving further, if you have understood the first two parts, then you should be able to enlist 4 features of a thing of beauty that are given in the poem. According to John Keats, what are those features? Mention them in the comment box right now. I'm giving you approximately 15 seconds. Alright, so just check whether you were able to enlist 4 features. So first is that it gives you immense joy, that that does not end and remains with you eternally. Its loveliness keeps on increasing. It keeps a bower quite for us. And lastly, that it will never pass into nothingness. It will always be something valuable for you. It will always invoke some amount of valuable emotion in your heart. Let us move forward with the last few lines where John Keats gives examples of things of beauty according to him. He has given you the features, he has provided you with the reasons that why do you need this thing of beauty. So definitely now he is going to give you with the examples that what according to him are things of beauty. Right? If you have understood the first two parts, then this particular part is going to be a cakewalk for you. Because for him, he says, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. And such are daffodils with a green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. The mid-forest brake with the sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for our mighty dead. All the lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heavens brink. So these are the things, or here we can say that he gives you a list of things that he considers to be a thing of beauty. According to John Keats, these are the things that he considers to be a thing of beauty. Let us try to now understand in detail. So the very first thing that he considers as thing of beauty is definitely the sun. So the sun always gives you warmth, it gives you light. So yes, optimism, a source of optimism. The sun. The moon, again. The moon is also a symbol of vitality, energy. So yes, the moon is also a thing of beauty according to John Keats. So look at the elements. Do they remind you of romanticism? Is he expressing his love for nature while giving the examples? Definitely yes. So now you can relate to the part wherein I explained the context, that when John Keats was writing, he was writing in a time where the poets used to express their love for nature. Here he is also expressing his love for nature. So he says, the sun is a thing of beauty. It gives you eternal joy. The moon is also a thing of beauty. Now let us try to understand the third image. The third image is the trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. तो तीसरी चीज क्या है according to him? कि there are trees. Imagine that there are a lot of trees, right? Lot of trees, and These trees can be young as well as old. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ young trees ही, old trees can be there. And what are they doing? They are sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. Sprouting meaning creating here. It is sprouting, ugna, right? So it is creating a shady boon for simple sheep. So it is creating a kind of shady place where the simple sheep can take rest. So this is the kind of picture that should come into your mind, that there are trees which are creating a shady kind of place for the animals to take rest in. This is also a thing of beauty. And such are the daffodils with the green world they live in. Now understand that daffodils are kind of flowers that are yellow in color, right? So he says that when you look at daffodils, those are, yellow in color. Pardon me for the drawing, but this is the best that I can do. And so the yellow flowers, right? So imagine these yellow flowers with all the green stems, and the background is also of grassland. So he says when you look at this kind of scenery, it is also something that gives you joy. It is also a thing of beauty for John Keats, right? So the daffodils with the green world they live in. Do not forget that you need to focus on the green world also. That is the grass, the grassland where the daffodils are growing. And the clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. So what is the fourth thing? What is the fourth thing of beauty? The daffodils are the fourth ones. This is the fifth one. Yes. So this is the fifth one. So he says, what are rills? Rills are basically small streams of water. The meaning is also given in your NCERT. So rills are small streams of water. So when these streams of water pass through a forest or pass through a grassland, they provide a very cooling effect to the nearby area. So whenever, जब भी summers में आप कभी जाएंगे forest के through या फिर किसी भी grassland के through, and it is extreme summer, बहुत ही ज़्यादा sunny day है, what do if you want to find water or if you want to feel cool? You go near the water body, right? So here also he says that those little water streams, those little streams of water, जो कि एक ठंडी feeling दे रहे हैं, a cooling covert. Covert basically means a cool kind of place which is created by these rills due to the effect of water. So उस जगह पे आपको ठंडक फील होती है, right? उस water body के आसपास आपको ठंडक फील होती है because of that rill. So that is also a thing of beauty for John Keats. The mid-forest brake, rich with sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. This is the sixth thing of beauty according to John Keats. Let me just erase all this so that I can put things on board without any crowd. Right, let's get back. So what is the first one? The sun. The second one, the moon. The third one, the trees old and young sprouting a shady boon. The fourth one, the daffodils. The fifth one, the clear rills. And then finally, the sixth one, the mid-forest brake. So have you ever noticed that when you are in a grassland where only grasses are there, the slope sometimes goes like this, है ना? ऐसा. And on this slope generally there is a tuft of grass or maybe some flowers growing. This is called, this particular gradient is called break, mid-forest break, right? And this mid-forest break is rich with sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. Musk rose blooms, blooms meaning flowers, and musk rose is a kind of or category of roses, right? So imagine this mid-forest break, and imagine this mid-forest break having a lot of roses, a lot of musk colored roses on it. So according to John Keats, this is also a thing of beauty. And finally the seventh thing, that is, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for our mighty dead. Dooms here basically means the death or end. And grandeur, splendor, grandness. Right? So he says that the kind of grandness that we associate, the kind of splendor that we associate with the death of our mighty dead is also a source of optimism, is also a source of inspiration for all of us. And all these lovely tales that we have heard or read, they are like an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring unto us from the heavens brink. Immortal? What do you mean by immortal? Something that never dies, right? So brink basically means edge. So when he says that all these stories that we have heard, or all these tales that we have heard, all these lovely tales that we have heard, all these tales provide us with an endless amount of fountain, of an immortal inspiration that is coming to us, that is pouring unto us, coming to us directly from the heaven, directly from the edge of the heaven, right? So in order to summarize, he says the last and the final thing that is beautiful is the source of inspiration that we have from heaven in the form of stories that we hear, the tales that gets passed on from generation to generation. These stories continuously inspire us to get through our lives. Hope all of you have understood all the three parts. If there is any doubt, then just write it in the comment box and I'll try to reply with clarity as much as possible. Alright learners, after having understood the poem, let us try to test your knowledge. Attempt this question. Make a list of things that are considered beautiful by John Keats. He has provided us with 7 examples of such things. You need to recall minimum 5. If you are able to recall a minimum 5 of those things, then you are good to go. If it is below 5, then you need to rewatch the video and understand it better. So let us try to attempt this question. Write all those things in the comment box as much as you can remember. I'm giving you 30 seconds in order to do that. Alright, time's up. So let us try to recall. The first thing, the sun. The second, the moon. The third, the young and old trees which were sprouting a shady boon for the simple sheep. Then fourth, the daffodils with the green world, with the kind of grassland that you need to imagine, the background. Then fifth, the clear rills, the clean streams of water that were providing a cooling effect in the nearby area in extremely hot summer day. Then sixth, the mid-forest break. The mid-forest break with those sprinkling of rich, or that particular mid-forest break was rich with sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, right? So you need to imagine this mid-forest break with a small amount of musk rose flowers on it, on top of it. And then finally, the seventh, the inspiration that we get after hearing those lovely tales that we hear from our epics. And they are a continuous source of inspiration that provide us with the optimism that we need to exist, that we need to survive on this earth. Let us move forward now. The last part, that is the poetic devices. First of all, try to understand the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme of this particular poem is rhyming couplet, right? It is written in rhyming couplet in the sense that you will find the rhyme scheme is just like this. That you have rhyming pairs at the end of each line. A, B, B, C, C, and so on and so forth. So this is the rhyme scheme. Then we have the use of specific poetic devices. The first one is alliteration. Alliteration, as we all know, is the repetition of consonant sound in the beginning of closely placed words, right? So we have the word N being repeated in noble nature, S being repeated in at various places, right? Then we have B in band and bind. They come in the same line, they appear in the same line. Then finally, the C in cooling cupboard. Metaphor is a poetic device wherein two things are compared. There is an indirect comparison between two things. So here, reading a flowery band basically means that the beautiful things of our life bind us to the earth. So this flowery band is of beautiful things instead of flowers. So this is a metaphor. Then a bower quiet for us, that is again metaphor, wherein the poet is saying that it is a calm place. It is a calm kind of place that is kept by the thing of beauty for us. Then moving forward, we have anaphora. Anaphora is a poetic device in which the first letter, the first word of consecutive lines, the first word of the consecutive lines is same, is repeated. So here you can see off and off being repeated. So the poetic device of anaphora is used here. And finally, imagery. As I told you, John Keats was famous for his descriptions, his vivid descriptions. So of course in his poetry you will always find imagery being used. So whenever you see the name of John Keats, just close your eyes, have faith in me, and write imagery as it is. So you can see that a lot of visual imagery is used. For example, this flowery band, you can just imagine this flowery band, you can visualize this flowery band in your brain. So that is the poetic device of imagery. Then trees sprouting a shady boon. Then finally, the growing process of daffodils, the green world. Remember? Then finally the clean river streams. And similar is that mid-forest break. So throughout the poem we have the usage of imagery. So this brings us to the end of the lesson of the basic detailed explanation of A Thing of Beauty written by John Keats, included in Flamingo Class 12th NCERT. If you liked the video, then like it, share it with your friends as much as you can so that they can benefit out of it, and subscribe to Fit the Lit, where we fit literature to its rightful standard and we always try to remain lit.